welcome to the podcast, everyone. I am your host, Nick. You guys know me, and we got Heather, and we got Tom, and we got Knives by Adam, who's also
I
known
just
as
noticed that now.
who's also known as
You
Double.
stolen son of a bitch. You stole my super creative name.
There we go.
How did
Also-
you do that?
It took a lot of brain power to come up with something so creative.
That's why I
forgot
love
I
when
needed-
people are like, how'd you come up with the name? I'm like, I make knives and people call me Nooch. They're like, oh, well,
Very simple.
all right. It's very to the point and succinct. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so Adam's also known as Double A Forge, and we've had him on here before, and we attempted to have him on video podcast a couple weeks back, but then it was just chaos ensues. Heather's computer
Oh my
blew up,
goodness.
and it was
I felt so bad. I'm so sorry. That was so frustrating.
Tom
That
cut
was just a
himself just so he
bad
didn't have to
day.
talk to
yeah.
me.
Tom
that
cut
was
his
not a good
finger
day.
off.
Yeah. Which still feels very weird. You know, clapping is weird because it feels like the finger wants to detach. It's attached, but it feels like it moves differently. So it's like, oh, this is weird.
How's
So that was
it
just
look?
a bad day all around. I mean, it looks okay. It does not look,
Band-Aid on there.
I mean, ideal, but it's connected. I still have to be very careful in the shop and stuff like that. You know, grinding is very funny. I've been wearing like a sleeve of a glove just over my finger because Adam, you know, you need your dexterity when doing this kind of work, and you really need to feel. So but I still need to keep this thing covered and not like covered in grinding steel dust. I don't think that's healthy.
No.
So I've been like doing some definitely not doctor recommended things of just like I cut a glove finger off of a glove that fits like a rubber glove, load up this finger with Neosporin, and then just slide the middle finger over it, but then I cut the tip off. So at least I know it's like packed like a bearing with Neosporin, so none of that grime and stuff will get in there. But I can still feel my finger and everything. It's definitely.
It's actually pretty slick.
I think the doctor would say, "How about you just don't work for a bit?" But that's not an option at the moment.
That's not a thing. That's
Yeah.
not
Not
a
even
thing.
a- Yeah, it's not even a finger condom if you cut the top off. What would you call
No,
it?
it's not. So it's like just a finger sleeve.
It's a sleeve.
It's but it's getting me back to work. I just have to be very careful, and I'm finding myself awfully gun shy right now, which is not great. Which especially even Lauren would say, it's at least you don't have to handle knives anymore. Psych. I'm like, yeah.
Like, what happened that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, no, it's the irony of it all. So, but even like using bandsaws and stuff like that. I mean, Adam, you got yourself good with the bandsaw, right?
Yeah, I did. I about cut my thumb off one time. I was trimming some scales down, and it busted loose because the blade wasn't as sharp as it should have been. And I don't know if it's going to show up on camera. You see a little indent there on my thumb? It hit the bone and then skated down the bone.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it had been a little sharper, it may have just gone straight through, but it didn't. And I did not get stitches. I didn't go to the doctor. I was being stubborn. And I walked around with what looked like a giant Q-tip as a thumb for about 2 weeks. It healed up all right.
work out.
I didn't lose any feeling, and I still got a scar and a nice story. I tell everybody when I hit the bandsaw and I had a rear sight when I put my thumb up, I realized I was in trouble.
Yeah.
It literally just split my thumb in two.
Yeah, tools are very dangerous, and it sucks to have to learn lessons this way.
Yeah.
But they are lessons that you do not forget anytime soon.
I don't trim my scales on the bandsaw anymore.
Yeah, I don't have box cutters in my shop anymore. It's like
That was 9 years ago.
yeah, well, I'm slowly learning these things,
That's
but I
good.
think that's also why it would be cool to like go to other knife maker shops and take classes and stuff like that, or even just observe what they do. So then you could have somebody else there saying like, "Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's dangerous."
Years ago, they used to have a thread on blade forums all about that. It was shop injuries, just to get you to understand. Don't do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's
years
why I
and
don't
years
use a buffer anymore, was just from people I had no idea how dangerous a buffer was until like listening to podcasts like Knife Talk podcasts and stuff like that, and how guys don't even keep them in their shop anymore. Because I know one guy, they were telling a story, a guy who got killed by a chopstick in his shop.
Oh my God.
Because the buffing wheel moves at like an average of like 3,000 RPM, so it's flying and it's cloth, so it's grabby.
Yep.
And this guy was buff polishing a Damascus chopstick because just what everybody needs in their shop and kitchen. But it ended up catching it and it flung it right through his chest. So, and then his wife ended up finding him in the shop. But like stories like that, I've had the buffer catch like Kydex sheaths and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, no. This is if this flying in a piece of plastic this fast and it hit me in the head, that hurt.
Yeah,
Imagine if
it's
it was like,
infamously the most dangerous tool you can use.
yeah, and it's
in a
always
restaurant.
unsuspecting stuff like that where you think it's like, oh, it's just a cloth wheel, but I'm like, no, the stuff that it throws is the problem. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't know it until I heard somebody else talk about it.
That's crazy. And Heather, my compliments. You're surprisingly got all your blood in your face after this story.
I was trying not to visualize. I have a very good imagination, so I can see things very well in my head. And yeah, I'm not into that. Todd just comes in with his fingers covered and doesn't show me anything. And I say, is it stitch worthy? And he always says no.
I mean, that is the typical male response.
I was going to say, I wouldn't trust a man on whether or not it needs stitches.
Yeah. I got some really cool scars because, like, I figured a butterfly bandage for a month and a half was a great idea instead of going to the ER. So, so it goes,
Yeah.
What about you,
Been in
Heather?
the medical field long enough to know that some things need to be seen by proper medical authorities.
Yeah. See, and that's
you're smarter than the rest of us.
Yes,
but it's from seeing it. It's not from. That's what it's from. It's not from me just being smart. It's from seeing over and over. Like, oh, this one is definitely in that category of needs to get addressed.
Well, that was a nasty one. Not Tom. Heather, have you had any kind of like weird shop injuries? Have you ever like stitched yourself to a piece of
I am
wax
very,
canvas?
very careful with everything. Thank you. Very careful.
So maybe
you
need to start doing safety classes for everybody. Like, this is how not to kill yourself in your shop,
and how to be happy while working.
I could use some advice on that one sometimes.
It all has to do with the dancing, you guys. If you just danced in your shop more, you'd be happier while you were working. I'm just saying.
I don't know if dancing qualifies as shop safety. I'm just saying that seems like
you did a video of you dancing with the shovels from Pete.
That's a good idea.
I didn't expect you to actually do that.
That was funny.
Yeah. And those sleeves came out cool. They seem like such a nice way to pack up those shovels so they don't get crap all over the place and keep everything else protected from the shovel.
Yeah,
do you have one? Well. Do you have one that you can show us, Heather?
No, I sent them all to him. I was like, but I got to keep the shovel. And actually, I got a vision for what I'm going to do with the shovel video. But yeah, he already said he needs more. I've had lots of people reach out saying, where can we buy them? I'm like, on his website. So I've been just sending people to his website to buy them. But yeah, they turned out great. I really like how they look. So yeah, I'll definitely be making more for them right away. So yeah.
Cool.
That was good.
Awesome. Yeah. Save one to show us, or like take a picture so that you can show
or dance with.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make one for mine, but I always want to make mine special, and then I don't want to show it because it's not what other people can get. Like I'm always torn between like if it's for me, I'm going to spend extra time on it.
Make them jealous. I do that all the time.
That's okay. Like, can I get that? No.
No. You're not
as a maker, I think you reserve the right to make yourself the nicest stuff. I mean, that's just.
Oh, I do. Or I make it for Todd. Yeah, I
try. At times, it's like this is like they have a relationship with me or something. Like I made a custom for somebody, and I don't do customs, and people are like, "Well, why can't you make one of those for me?" I'm like, "I don't even know your real name." And the guy I made this custom for let me live in his house when I was homeless for a month and a half.
Right.
So, and I've known him for 10 years.
Right.
So the relationship is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's fine to do customs, and also it's like that's just not what your business is. But you can still do fun stuff and show it off, and who knows? Maybe enough people show an interest in it, and it's like, oh, maybe I should do something like this.
A lot of my products are like that. I make them for myself, and the people are like, "Are you going to make that for other people?" And I'm like, "Oh, I probably should have wrote the instructions down."
I think better. LT has some of the best advice on that, where he says, if you make one, you have to be willing to make 1,000.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's
or you get good at saying no.
Yeah, or you say no all the time. No.
I have to hand out the no's all on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I've got that. I got a couple of customs I made, and just everybody wants them now.
I had somebody ask for they wanted a titanium wicket, and I'm like, now that does sound cool, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening anytime in the near future.
Like a titanium handle scale?
Titanium handle scales. And I'm like, that would be freaking awesome.
That would be freaking
But like,
awesome.
that's not, my budget is not in that field right now. My budget is getting product out there, not super expensive budget. That will come down the line when I have money.
Look how excited Nick's getting though. He's like titanium scales.
No, because my brain is like doing gymnastics right now because I'm trying to remember the name of a company that I'm never going to remember because it's like something German. But Tom knows who I'm talking about.
UG Tools, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, have you seen those, Adam?
Yeah, the 3D printed titanium handles.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous. Like, I mean, when I got to handle them at Blade Show last year, I just couldn't believe how lightweight they are, and everyone who's tested on one of them was like, they're durable as hell. I was like, that's amazing.
The DPK guys baton the handle through wood just to see how tough it was. So normally you do the blade going through the wood, but they said, "Fuck it, we'll hit the handle through the wood," and it ended up splitting the wood. And I'm like, okay, this is a little wild.
Yep.
That stuff's so dangerous to work with too, because the guy was telling me at Blade Show that he almost blew up his shop because like 3D printing the titanium, it's so flammable.
I was gonna say titanium dust is flammable.
Super flammable.
Yeah.
And apparently he almost blew up the shop and he was in there when the explosion did happen, but thankfully he was okay. But I'm like, man, that sounds very scary because titanium sparks are very hot too. Like that's why I've never messed with it myself, because I'm like, I see all the videos of guys like lighting their pants on fire while grinding it. I'm like, I want nothing to do with this. Like, I'll find somebody who's smarter than me with a CNC machine to do it, but I'm not doing it by hand. No way.
Yeah, grinding it's not a smart idea.
No.
Some guys do it, but it's not smart.
I think what do they mostly do? Like water jetting on that, right?
Water
Like
jetting
when
and
people
CNC
do-
with carbide tooling, so you don't have all the sparks. It's got some sort of a liquid to cool it, and so yeah.
So I guess like the moral of the story here is being a knife maker is dangerous work, guys.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I have to worry about the occasional paper cut. Not even really, 'cause who writes on paper anymore? But you know what I mean. Yeah, I've never had any gratuitous writing injuries, so I can't.
Never like cramped up real bad where you then fell down.
No. I mean, I've hurt myself trying to get some really like awesome pictures, but
that counts.
That counts. I've gone in. I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe 2-3 years ago. I don't know. I think it was when I first moved to Connecticut. I was trying to get this really awesome shot over by this like nice lake we have, and it was frozen, but it wasn't quite that frozen. So I was like standing on a stump and on a tree that fell into the waterway, and I was like, oh, it's fine because if I fall, I'm just gonna hit ice because I had walked across part of it before, except not at that point, and I just went right in, and I was cold and it was terrible.
Do you have any more writing articles coming up? Because I've been trying to go to my local Tractor Supply to find the magazine, and the fuckers haven't put it out yet. So I've been trying to buy my first Nick Italiano print, but I can't find it.
Yeah, I got a ton of stuff coming actually. So our next issue, which is not going to come out till April for you guys, but just like a little behind the scenes, when an issue comes out in April, that means that it's due tomorrow. So I have 2 articles that are going to be in that issue, and then I got a whole bunch of stuff hitting the website over the next couple, like, I don't know, I have about a month planned out right now, like a month and a half. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming. I can't really let the cat out of the bag about what the next issue's about, but it's going to be preparation-y, I guess.
Is it going to include words and photos as well?
I'm saying
the
topic,
which is a preparation-based magazine.
Yeah, but it's gonna be good. You guys are gonna like it. But I hope you guys are able to find the new issue. And if you have trouble finding it, let me know, and I can see if I can wrangle up some for you.
Yeah, for us, Tractor Supply is usually where we find it too. So Barnes and Noble is like months behind. We have a Barnes and Noble in the city, and they're really behind on magazines. But Tractor Supply is usually pretty good for us.
I'm gonna check ours out.
Yeah,
I didn't realize they carried Recoil Off Grid.
Yeah, then Backwoods Survival Guide, a couple other magazines. It's always funny now too, going and looking at the stand, be like, I know that fucker. When I'm looking at like the magazine, and be like, oh, that's Ruben. He was showing me these photos when we were drinking together.
Yeah.
I mean, doing networking symposium stuff.
Network symposium. It's pretty cool though, right? To look back. I mean, like when I go now, I remember the very first time we were in an article in a magazine, and then we picked it up at Tractor Supply, and I was doing a little dance. I was like, "This is us." We're checking out. I'm like, "We're in this magazine. We're buying this magazine because we're in this magazine." Right?
And they're like, "Yeah, $10, please."
Yeah. Now I'm like, I know that maker. I know that maker. I know that writer. I know that writer. I mean, it's really nice to see how things have evolved over the years with the community and the people we've met. So I always feel extra cool and like to acknowledge that I've really grown in the years with the people I know and the talent I know. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
stay happy.
I had my very first article framed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was Knives Illustrated. And then I got another one in American Frontiersman, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
Funny thing is, I went and got it framed, and I didn't even put it on the wall. Sit in my closet. I got to get it up in the shop or something.
You should take care of that. Yeah.
Probably should.
Well, the first one's more important. That's cool. Like I got my first one actually from Knives Illustrated too, who RIP doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like I got it right here on my desk because I'm like, all right, this is just fucking cool. Like, and it doesn't mean I'm not happy to see myself in other things, but I'm like, this was the first one. This is kind of like
it's a special one.
See my name in lights. It's kind of deal.
No, it's cool. I'm gonna frame the first article that I had put in print because it's the first article I put in print. That's awesome. So
back when I started, the online reviews and all that weren't really a thing. Magazines, I mean, that was, if you got in a magazine, that was a big deal. So for me, that was a huge milestone to actually get an article on a knife.
It is a huge milestone.
It is, great. And I think it's really cool. And for me, it's really exciting. Like as a writer and as an editor of the magazine, like I get really excited to see how excited people get about being in the magazine. Like it's super cool. And I got to tell you, it was not in any way, shape, or form done on purpose, but our friends over at Wazoo were in like 1,700 different articles.
Oh my goodness! I saw his video about that.
Yeah, and he made a whole video about it, and then he sent out a whole newsletter about it. I'm like, oh man, that's really awesome. I'm just happy to see that people are getting excited about it. And I encourage everyone to also get just as excited about getting on websites too, because I know it doesn't have the same tactile feel as being in the magazine. But you guys get a lot of freaking eyes on those websites, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, even the Google searching is huge for it, too. Because when people are buying, they want to see multiple places of, like, seeing the work. Like, every now and then, I'll do, I'll go in, like, incognito mode for not the uses that everybody else uses it for, but for going and looking at my own brand. Because when you go in incognito mode, it's supposed to not attach any of your browser history, allegedly.
Wait, so what do people use it for?
You can Google that on the dark web.
Okay. I've never even used it.
Same thing, Nick. I'm like, what else do you do incognito mode? Okay. Never mind. I could probably figure something appropriate out.
But
I think I figured it out. Yeah, okay.
We're clearing your browser history, Nick.
Yeah, I understand
now. Okay, now that we're past that. But what is helpful without the browser history is that, like, obviously I've come up, like, search myself or other things, or just come up in general. So, like, my Google search will be skewed by that kind of information. But when you go in that kind of incognito mode, you could see where you're coming up in the analytics and the search bar and who's there. And it's important to have your product in multiple places, because then it just builds that kind of trust when it's not just like your own website saying this is the best fucking thing in the world. When you have other people and a whole page of Google saying, hey, these are all different sources talking about the thing. It's like, okay, this guy's like not some Chinese scammer. He may actually be legit because it's in all these different places. It builds that kind of trust.
I felt really special when somebody came out and actually interviewed us. Like the newspaper came to the shop and they brought a photo person. I was like, ooh, we're so fancy now. And then they put a photo on the cover.
One of your good mugs?
What?
Did you have one of your good mugs when they came?
No, those are down here just for you guys. Up in the shop, I use a paper cup. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Big with your local community there, Heather?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Last episode you were talking about going to the school, teaching the youngins. Now you got the local news coming.
No, this is an older article. It was last year, but the school was a lady I met during a networking event a few years ago. But yeah, I tried to network locally, and I just couldn't get anything to happen locally. So we did local events. I went to like small business meetings. I went to all kinds of things. I spent almost 2 years trying to network locally, and nothing came of it. So now I just network all over the web. I don't know what to say. Like I was hoping even just to get a good small group out here. We're rural, and I know there's lots of rural businesses. So I was trying to connect with the rural businesses or the stay-at-home people that work from home like me, but I didn't get anything to happen. So, I gave it a good go. I thought 2 years was a good enough effort to realize it wasn't going to work for me.
No, you go where it works.
Yeah.
It's also easier to find your people online because we all kind of, I mean, even like not like knives. Most people don't look at knives as buying like a $300 knife. They're like, I go to Wally World and buy something off the shelf, and when it doesn't cut anymore, just buy a new one. That's most people's things. So like, if I was to just sell locally, it would be a little. I mean, we did a ton of shows locally. Now we don't really do as many anymore, just because just time. But like the markets, you wouldn't sell a ton, but then online, they're just the pond is so much bigger online, and you're able to find those exact type of customers that you want a little bit easier because you just be able to cast a bigger net.
Yeah, I mean, it's like was pointed out. If you have only 3 knife people in your area, you're gonna sell 3 knives.
Yeah.
But in a country 330 million, there's going to be a few more folks who are interested in a knife.
Yeah, just a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what the internet has been good for, right? Especially the social media, like get you in front of audience. I mean, it's a completely different animal now because social media is like, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know why I post anymore half the time. It's like, oh, like 3 people seen this. Great. Okay, moving on.
You just have to get engaging like me, Nick. You have to get creative, you know?
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that I am actively being suppressed by Instagram, by Meta, by Mark Zuckerberg. He's like, I don't like Nick Italiano, and I don't like what he's about.
Zuckerberg himself came down and said, "Fuck this
very
Nick
personal.
guy."
He did.
Very
Very personal. He's like, this guy, I don't like what he's about.
Yeah. Him and Adam Mosseri got together and they just put a little pin in your voodoo doll of Nick.
Yeah.
And here's the hex we're putting on him.
They were driving by the house throwing rocks at me. It was terrible. None of that actually happened.
Throwing gang signs for IG as they drove by.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. I have been on like the suppression list, I guess, for the better part of 3 years now. I know you have too, Tom. But you still seem to get a pretty good amount of traction.
I mean, it's still growing. I mean, the page, even while not being able to be quote unquote recommended, or you can't search me on Instagram, I just hit 10K recently, and now I'm at 11K followers. So it's like it's still, I don't know. There's still ways to grow, but also like if you look at my page, I have like 1,500 fucking posts on social media for a page that's like 2.5, 3 years old.
Yeah,
that's a lot of posting.
You post a lot of stuff. Heather posts a lot of stuff too. Adam, you post a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, we're over 5,000 posts.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Doing the right thing.
But it's time consuming, but it's also just saying like, hey, we're still here, you know, staying in people's feeds and interests. And I don't know, it's still very necessary.
That's the huge negative of social media. The moment you stop, you disappear. It doesn't have the evergreen effect that YouTube has. So you have to be consistent and you have to constantly, at least once a week. Some people say once a day, but at least once a week, and then interact with people. Well, that's the only way you can actually grow.
Like that's the nice part about YouTube videos is you could Google a YouTube video and you'll find some information about it. You're not going to really find much Googling on like Instagram captions and stuff like that. But that's also why like I don't care half the time because Lauren was making fun of me this week. I spent like 45 minutes cursing up my damn computer making this fucking reel showing off the knives and the cuts and everything else, and I get like tens and tens of people viewing it. And then I just go outside the next day and take a lazy ass picture with 2 knives in my hand and just wrote lazy handpick for the caption, and it gets all this engagement. And you're like, why do I? What? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But it's just comical at this point. But
sometimes it's the joke that I'm just doing a lazy handpick. People like the joke, and it's just the feel of it is more so than necessarily the quality of the post. It's kind of the feel and the spirit of it gets more people's attention.
I don't know. Social media is dumb, but it's necessary.
Agreed, but
it's free. It's free.
Also free.
It is free. It is free, and I've been doing. I do a lot of research on this kind of stuff because, like, one of my duties over at Off Grid Land is to manage the website. So I'm always looking at like SEO content and how to better your SEO. And now there's not just SEO. There's something called AEO, which is basically an AI, like preferential wording for AI searching. And then there's another one called GEO that I haven't even had time to like walk into yet that I'm gonna talk about with you guys at some point. But it's just crazy, and it's like keeping up with all this stuff really is a job in itself. So if you're doing something,
have marketing departments.
Yeah, but for like the small businesses, like you do the best that you can. I mean, I think you all do a really bang up job on social media, and it's good. You stand, you got newsletters, and you're doing the right thing. So hooray.
Yeah, the newsletters are working out. Do you have a newsletter, Adam?
I do.
And how?
Yeah, I got a newsletter 5-6 years ago, something like that. Yeah, I don't really care about the social media stuff and trying to worry about I do this and I do that, jump through all the loopholes and complain publicly about being blocked. It's like, well, I know they don't like knives, so what? I'm gonna post my thing, post my stuff, do my thing, and move on.
It's like complaining about being cold in the winter. We all fucking know it.
Yep. Like no point in whining about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've been suppressing me for 5 years now. But I'm at 22,600 followers. So, just do your thing.
Yeah.
It's not like the hunting and fishing and shooting companies have disappeared. Like the other day, I saw an ad for Mossberg on my Facebook, and it was just straight up a shotgun. I'm like, yo, like we have to hide our knives.
Yeah.
Like, we're just straight up putting the home defense shotgun on my Facebook ad, and I'm like, I love to see it, but I'm like, man, this is none of this makes any
what they
sense.
have that you don't, Tom, is tens and tens of thousands of dollars of marketing.
Lawyers, that's what they have.
And lawyers, that too.
Yeah, the money,
so money
and
plus
lawyers
makes things happen.
Yeah, wheels getting greased.
I'm going to try throwing money at advertising. I haven't really spent any money
It's
on
worth it.
advertising. So I was going to take and do one of our more popular videos and then put that out for advertising and see what it does for us. Because, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I'm constantly trying new things to see what's going to put us in front of the right audience. And we were pushing, everyone was telling me to do the newsletter. And I just fought it. And finally, over the last 6 months, I've really pushed it, and significant difference in the amount of sales we have. Like I was aiming for once a week, right? So on Sundays I would write, and that was working out pretty good. And now I've started doing Wednesdays and just sending out a new arrivals, because we post new stuff every week. I'm always putting new stuff on the website, and now our Wednesdays are really picking up. So it's working, which everyone told me. I don't know why I was being stuck. It just was one more list. It was just one more thing on my list of all the things.
It's one more thing to do, and it's something that you hadn't previously done, and it's hard to kind of get into the habit of doing something new. I mean, I remember like Tom, like you started doing a newsletter. Like when did you start the newsletter?
About a year and a half, 2 years ago.
About a year and a half ago, and like and at that point, Tom was like, "I don't write words, Nick. Write me."
Yeah.
So I write newsletters, and then went over time, right? Like I would send it to him, and he'd be like, "Oh, I changed this, this, and this," and I'm like, "Oh, great!" And then he'd be like, "Oh, I changed this and this," and then I would send him like an outline, and he would just like do it. Now, like he just does it, and he does a really good job. So it's you just gotta just try it. Just get out there.
You just
need
a picture says knives and buy here with a little link.
That's all you need.
You really don't have to do much.
Well, even one thing that I've been doing, which because Lauren, it's also very helpful having her. She's a professional copywriter, so she literally writes email sequences for like multi-million-dollar businesses. Like she knows what she's doing with these things. One thing that I started doing just for exactly that is I put certain things in bold in my paragraphs because people like to skim, and it's like they'll see Wicked XL, textured handle, like whatever it's this, why it's special, and they're like see a photo like, okay, good, because people are, it's just like everything else, you got to catch their attention so quickly, and everybody's busy lives. Sometimes they don't like want to sit down and read everything, but if they could just scan with their eyes down and get the key points, I see that it's been very helpful for
I'm gonna try that. Thank you.
Yeah, it helps a lot. If there's a point in it that you need to make, highlight that. Make it bold, underline it, something of that nature, and it really, really helps.
Well, that's how people read, though. They skim. Like they just go down side to side to side to side, and they skim down when they're really in, like, you know. So it's been helpful for that kind of stuff, and also including pretty pictures, because some people just want to like look at the picture and then say, "Oh, I like that." You know.
I only put one picture in mine. I don't do a lot of pictures because I was told people don't open it doesn't open as well with pictures in it. So I tend to write a very personal letter to our customers about how things are going, and then I like to spotlight another business, and then I usually don't post a picture unless I can find one that's relevant to the conversation.
But that's just good for people who like to read, though. There's a lot of people that don't like to read. They just want to be notified and see something.
Well, the picture is also very loading. It depends on the size of the picture, mostly the size of the file.
Yeah,
if you keep that under wraps, we'll put like 6 to 8 pictures on a newsletter, and it'll load in a second or two.
Yeah, I think the big thing with not putting pictures, and the idea behind not putting pictures, is encouraging people who want to see it to click on the link. Which makes sense, you know. But I don't know. Every market is different, right?
I'm just gonna say, eye candy is never a bad thing.
Yeah, every market is different. Everyone's got different things. Even you know, when I write for the website, you know, for the magazine, right? Like I write, you know, long 3,000 plus word articles, but I try to, as often as I can, put bullet points into the ends of paragraphs, because some people want to read that 3,500 words and like really enjoy and take their time, and other people just want what's the point? Okay, boom, bullet points. There you go. So it's like I'm appealing to both audiences, and of course they get, you know, pretty pictures. So I like pictures.
So many things to think about and learn, you guys. I'm going to try the bold. Maybe I will. I mean, the open rate right now is 56%. So more than half the people are opening my emails.
That's pretty good.
I feel like that's a good rate. So
yeah. And everybody's different, and I almost think it's better to curate more to your own personal brand, language, and style, because then people know it's coming from you. Like mine, they're very short, sweet, sometimes brash, sometimes funny, sometimes like rambly, but that's the same. It's literally, it's just me saying words onto paper. But and then it's like, I don't like wasting people's time, which is why I put shit in bold and put pictures and say, here are the specs. Go about your fucking day. Buy the knife or don't. Here it is.
It works.
I'm not wasting your time. But some people want to read like the novel and they get known for that kind of stuff. And people look forward to the newsletter because they want to sit down and read and see what this week's newsletter is going to be and everything else. So it's like everybody is different, but it's important to make it your own.
Yeah, they need to feel your personality in it.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah, I think that I've cultivated very. I have a great community, and I think they want to know what we're up to as a family. So that's how I approach my newsletters. But that's me. I'm not Tom.
You know what people sniff out though, real fast, is fucking ChatGPT. It's so easy to tell when somebody didn't even take the time to edit it. But for me, it's such a turnoff because I'm like, okay, we're all busy, we're all trying to do our thing. But if I could just tell that this was written by ChatGPT, and I already read at a third grade reading level, that's pretty bad. Like, guys, come on.
Yeah, ChatGPT is a problem. And believe me, I've seen people submit articles, like entire written articles, that they're going to get paid for, written by ChatGPT. I'm like, oh, well, this is a great topic. Like, let me know when you wrote it yourself. We'll have a conversation, you know?
Imagine a writer putting himself out of his job.
You know,
people are people.
It's like anything else. I don't know. But anyway, I did want to bring up an interesting marketing topic that I did not talk about with you guys beforehand because I wanted to get your kind of first-hand reactions to it. Okay, ready?
Ready.
So I read this really interesting article the other day. And it's talking about primarily Gen Z and how they are like going through this like de-influencing movement. They are so sick of influencers like just fictitiously telling them every freaking product that they get their hands on or getting paid to or compensated to is wonderful and great, that they are like avoiding companies that are using influencer marketing. And instead of making like influencer videos, they're making videos on like, don't buy this shit because it's trash.
So becoming an influencer.
So yes,
they're still an influencer.
They're influencing, they're just doing it opposite. And I just think it's interesting from a marketing perspective, because what do we always talk about on this podcast? Authenticity, right? Like, be real, be upfront, be who you are. And I think that's why people are kind of like moving away from this idea of influencers and believing everything influencers have to say, because it's so transparent now. Like, like they're getting paid to promote that product.
What age group is that?
That's Gen Z, so I guess I don't know where that falls, but I guess they're in their
20 to 30?
college
like
age,
early 20s.
Yeah.
Something like
10 years younger than me. So like 20s, yeah.
Yeah, we're millennials, so we're getting... We're all right.
People. Got it. Younger people forming their own opinions.
I think it's not even just that. Everybody is. Because I know somebody was talking recently about like, are you tired of being marketed to? And this is a new thing that's happening. It's like, no, every generation has been marketed the piss to. Because like, that's just how everything works. You watch old videos of like marketing in the 20s and stuff like that, how they made cigarettes cool for women to smoke because they were saying that's like, oh, you're a stronger woman if you smoke a cigarette, sticking up to the men who do. And like, but these things worked. They fucking worked. And it's like, so it's always been a thing, but I think now it's just so in our face. And it's not even just the fact that it's so in our face, it's the fact that we're educated on it now and we know what to look for and we know what to see. And that's why certain companies are doing a better job at not force feeding marketing. Like I just got a catalog from Sitka, and they're a hunting brand company, and they make really nice stuff. I own a set of their bibs and their jacket. They're great. They work well, but their magazine that they sent out wasn't like a Bass Pro catalog. Just has a bunch of shit listed with a photo and specs. It had stories in it of just writers, and it had photos, not necessarily hard selling you on the gear. But like they were selling turkey stuff, and one of the big spreads was a guy in the woods with a turkey, and you're looking at him like, oh, you can't even see really the guy. I'm like, oh, that's kind of the point of the camo, though. So it's like, but it almost catches your eye and it puts you in that place personally. And then, of course, through some of the pages, it had specs of like the product and everything because they need to throw it in there. But that was like a third of what the entire catalog was. I'm like, what an interesting approach to selling stuff in today's age, because you're right, like people are getting tired of it and we are more educated versus like me just holding up knife because I'm influencer saying this is the best thing ever because this and that. And it's like it doesn't hit with people that much anymore.
No, I'd agree.
I mean, and I think for our space, right, like the outdoor space and the survival space and like whatever it is, right, like I think there's a lot of really great people out there that would define themselves as influencers, right? But those people are content creators, right? I know nobody likes the word influence. It's the same thing. Nobody likes the word prepper, but it's
and
all
I'm
the same shit.
Artisan. That's or I'm a knife maker. Like,
there's a lot of really great people out there that legitimately go out and use and test the gear, and those people, you can see what they're doing and you trust their opinions, right? But then there's other people out there, they were like, oh, well, I want to get free stuff, or I want to get paid, or like whatever it is, and they just start to say, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great. Okay, well, not everything is the best knife ever.
Yeah.
So it makes the whole thing
knives, you guys. Maybe we can have Adam share his new knives that he brought.
Yes, please. I know we're going to go off on some crazy
tangent. I don't mind the marketing conversation at all.
Hey, Adam, market us on your new knife.
Speaking of marketing, this is the greatest knife you've ever seen in your life. You need to buy 10 of them.
And all other knives are shit compared to this.
Except News. News makes it. It's okay. They're okay.
Yeah, they're okay. I make low effort knives.
Yep. I need to try some low effort knives. I spent too many hours on these. So this is a new one I just did. It's a small version of my Kephart.
That's pretty cool.
So I got a Kephart pattern, and I get told all the time it's not a Kephart because it has a bellied blade as opposed to the spear point. I'm trying to see if it's on camera over here. But I designed mine off of an article I once read talking about the Kephart pattern and showing his original knife, because I guess he had a hand drawing. Before it got sharpened away for years and had that skinny little blade, it had a belly because it came from a butcher knife. So he just shortened the blade on a butcher's knife, so it had a bellied blade. So I took my mini Kephart, which is a 3.5-inch blade, and I made it skinnier and thinner scales. Call it the pocket Kephart.
That's nice.
Arguably, those bellies create better slicers, even the subtle ones like that.
They do.
They are
that's
better
the idea.
than a straight line.
100%.
The angle of attack when you go to cut with the knife, it angles the blade down like a recurve.
Yeah.
So you actually get a more aggressive cut with a fine point still. And it's better for skinning too. So just to be a little more versatile and something you can fit in your pocket. It's only a 3.5-inch blade. So I'm excited about it.
Pocket shoot that from like John or something like that?
I meant to grab one, but yes, it fits in his large.
Got it.
His large pattern fits it perfectly. I meant to grab it. I completely forgot. But yeah, it's a brand new one. Been talking about it for a while. And of course in my favorite handle material, which is TerraTough.
Which is amazing that you can make it look pretty, because I've given up on trying to make TerraTough look pretty. I sandblast it, call it a day. Because I've tried and I'm like, I don't care anymore. You're just not going to look pretty.
Yeah, we were talking about that on Failed Podcast. And it was like, wow, it doesn't look like TerraTough, because every
you don't
TerraTough
sandblast TerraTough.
like...
That's the one thing. Don't blast it.
Yeah.
So this is off of a 320 grit J-Flex. I use 320 grit sandpaper just to knock off any little facets or any little things that need to be rounded and smooth, and then 600 grit sandpaper. And that's what I get. So it's nice and smooth, and it's still fuzzy and warm. And I joke all the time, so it gives me the warm fuzzies. But I like it. It's lightweight.
It's not as toxic as everything else, so you could chew on the handle if you get bored.
Yeah, it's non-toxic, which is a big thing because, as you know, you work with G10 or any of the synthetics in a confined shop, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's just not good. And I have a dirty room too. It still gets everywhere, no matter what I do.
On your clothes and everything. Like when I just textured a whole pile of Wickets and Wicked XLs. So I was covered in my Carta dust after that. I just changed my hoodie. I go inside after I'm done grinding all the handles. I take it off because like you touch like one thing and it's like the mushroom spore that comes up of all like cancer dust. And I'm like, you're going in the laundry machine and I'm shutting the lid until you get run. Because I know if I touch myself, it's going to go right up my nose and I'll have green boogers for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'll come in from the shop because it's here on the property and the boys want to run up and give me a hug. I say, no, it'll be a cloud.
No.
I've already tried to dust off, but it's still going to be a cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like working with G10 personally. I do sometimes because you kind of have to. But yeah, it's not good for you. You get the toxicity of the phenolic, and then you get the glass fiber. It's just a lot of bad.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
G10
sounds like a whole
behaves. That's why G10's nice. They was working with a bunch of ironwood. I'm like, okay, don't chip it, don't drop it, don't do anything. G10, I can like throw it halfway across the shop and it'll be okay.
Well, that's the nice thing about TerraTough is it's as color and dimensionally stable as G10, but lighter, and it's just as durable.
Yeah,
I think it's Helmforge. He had a video because he was one of the first guys I saw use it. And in these little 1/4-inch strips of it, and he's got micarta and showing how you beat him into a certain point and it snaps. He takes TerraTough end to end. It won't break. This stuff is so tough. But yeah, I'm gonna start buying in sheets. I like it that much. That's charcoal there.
Yeah, that's good, man.
What's the color scope on it? Can you get it in a bunch of different colors, or
you can? They have a few brighter ones. Their blue is kind of a light, almost like a sky blue.
Ooh.
Green, kind of turquoise, actually. But this, I do the charcoal.
Have a lilac now.
Yeah, they have a lilac one, which is supposed to be red, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yellow and orange.
Big difference.
That's the one negative to TerraTough. Its colors are a little bit muted, just a little bit. So this was supposed to be a black, but it actually has that charcoal gray look, which I think looks
definitely.
good.
I think that's great. Yeah. I like
and then they have the
color
OD, and then I work with a tan one as well, which I don't have here in front of me. Problem with it, with the light color ones, is it's porous, as you know, and it will show dirt really fast.
Very fast.
So I stick to the earth tones, but they've got a whole bunch of different colors. It's made out in Oregon.
I like the way handle scales get character from dirt and sweat and all kinds of gross stuff. It's a lot of fun.
So Adam,
I love lightweight and good texture, American made. It's good material.
I like it.
It's a little bit
expensive. You're gonna have that at Blade Show, Texas?
Yes,
a little bit of it. Yes, I will. Which I'll have a couple little things. These are the only couple I got ready for Blade Show this far.
Nice. We're in the same boat.
Yep. We're normal knife makers. Yeah. We'll be working midnight the night before we're supposed to leave.
Week, you guys? 2 weeks? What is Blade Show?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, we're just under 2 weeks.
And you have 2 knives, Adam? Is that what you just said?
I technically have 3. I forgot to bring one of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, technically have 3. There was originally supposed to be 17. I'm going to be a little more sane and cut it down to 10, and I still have 7 more to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've been working on a lot of customs, and they take priority.
Yeah,
Worst case scenario, I got a bunch of my personal knives to take the Blade Show and get orders. Worst case scenario.
There you go.
So.
I also kind of see these shows not necessarily as like a super big money-making show, but more like show your work, get your name out there, get people on the email list, you know, shake the right hands, kiss the right babies type deal. Like that's what I really see a lot of these shows.
I tell a lot of folks, if you can do Blade Show and not be in the hole financially when you're done,
yeah, it's a great show.
It's a good show because the networking side of it is the good part.
Yeah, that's what everyone has always said. Like as long as they make it back, they're happy.
Yep. I mean, the first magazine article I ever had, we were talking about earlier, came from meeting that writer at Blade Show. So being there is a good thing. You get that face-to-face interaction. You get to talk to people. And like we say all the time, they buy the maker more than the knife anyway, or product, whatever it is. And if they halfway like you, they might buy your knives.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're a dick, they realize you're a dick and they stop buying your knives.
I don't know. There are a couple of guys that they're known for being jerks to their customers, and that's what their customers like about them.
Maybe they're masochists. I don't know.
It's like, what's the word?
I forgot his name now. I don't know if I'd want to drop the name on here, but he used to be known to be grumpy to his customers. Who he was known for. They'd say, "When are you going to have those knives ready?" When they're done. That would be his answer.
There's certain people that belong in a shop by themselves.
Yep. I can't remember his name anymore. Picture his face. I've met him a couple of times.
I once met a YouTuber. I'm not going to mention his name. We were on a fishing trip and we were with him for a couple of days. And the one guy who brought him thought it was so cool that there was a YouTuber there. And he was just such an impersonal dickhead. And at one point, it might have been a couple beers deep. And I'm like, it's a real good thing you found a career where you sit on a boat by yourself in the ocean. Because you're pretty intolerable.
You found your calling.
And he just kind of looked at me. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's a good thing you sit by yourself and don't have to interact with other humans because you're not very good at it.
Yep. Well, that's a lot of knife makers, to be honest. That's kind of how they started. It's like, well, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to be by myself. So I'm going to go hide in the garage and make knives. And then they realize you actually have to get out and network and market. And they still have to get out around people. You go to Blade Show and they sit there and they're just got that grumpy look on their face and they just sit. Some of them sit there reading a book and they look up at you as you walk by the table. That's all they do.
Yeah,
Not a
that's
hide,
what
nothing.
they do well. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I got to tell you guys. I mean, you all know this about me. I'm not like the most outgoing person on the planet, but I still have a podcast. I still talk to people on a regular basis. You know, like sometimes you got to do stuff for work. You know, like you got to do work
Bite the
stuff.
bullet and do
So
it.
if you're sitting there at a table and people are coming to look at your stuff, and I've had that happen. Like I've walked up to like a knife maker's table and I start asking questions, and they're like, "Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I
That's
like
when
that steel." I'm like, "Okay,
Yep.
well,
These things are fun for me though, because
you're
like
not
remember
giving
I
me much
talked
material to work with here, guy."
Yep.
before how we don't have a local nucleus of these kind of things, and like that's why we have to sell shit on the internet. Well, here we are with a whole bunch of other nerds that are super jacked up about
Yep.
this stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, this should be the time where like you get to have fun with people because you're like, other nerds like me are here. Perfect. Yeah. So it's like even if they don't buy it, I love going around just talking to people about their stuff, or even like when people come up to the booth, I'm like, "So what'd you buy so far?" Because I know you bought something, and then we like they love to show it off because
Oh, they really do. They get so excited.
Yep. Yeah, you might answer the same question 1,000 times when they come up and say, "What is AEBL?" I go, "Well, let me tell you."
Yeah.
Get to have a little fun nerding out on steel for a minute.
I gotta
And
tell you,
I do that all the
I
time with
always when you go live, I love watching your live videos and you just like nerding out over steel. Like I
I
think
like it. I can't help it.
I remember I watched a video you did like this was going back a while ago. You watched a video you were talking about 3V, and at that point in time, I don't think I had anything in 3V. And I was like, "Bro, I want to try this 3V now," because you were like so excited about it and so passionate about it. And now 3V is like my favorite steel. So
I used to hate
you
it,
know,
to be honest.
you influenced.
Yeah.
I'm not a steel nerd, but I am thoroughly impressed by it. And Adam, I know I talked to you a lot about finding different steels. And this is also why, like, I don't really ask for opinions from people all the time, just in the general web.
Yeah.
I go to people like Adam, who I know is a steel nerd, and I trust his opinion, and I talk to him about these things. And 3V was one of them. And I actually, with a knife I did recently, it was really cool, but I ground it too thin, in my opinion. It was a Bruin that I did, and I took it thinner than I do wickets. It was a prototype, so I'm like, I don't feel comfortable selling this in case somebody breaks it. So I sent it to our buddy LT Mike, and boy, did he put this thing through the ringer. And he's like, "Yeah, the edge is still shaving sharp." I'm like, "Holy shit, maybe there is something to this whole 3V thing."
Yeah, if you're going to treat it hard, 3V is a good one. 3V is real good. Yeah, I don't consider myself a steel nerd. I just love metallurgy. I always have. I talked to a lot of knife makers. They want to know, okay, well, what steel's marketable and what is the recipe? I don't care about anything else. It's like, but I want to know why. Why does it do what it does?
Exactly.
Yeah, why is it, you get steels like MagnaCut, for example, which, I call them the Magna nuts. You can't kick the sacred cow. But
yes, you can. It's fun.
Tom does all the time.
It's fun.
I do all the time.
Some of my best interaction videos are when I kick that Magna cow.
Yeah, if you want to have it, I felt like Jonathan Burton. He did his video about AEBL versus MagnaCut, and people ripped him.
He kicked that
apart.
cow.
He ripped all he said was he was very polite about it. It's okay, but I prefer this one, and they tore him apart.
Yeah,
and I'm with him. I prefer AEBL over MagnaCut personally. But I don't think there's anything that's wrong with it. It's a little bit of a pain to work with sometimes.
there's a couple things wrong with it, but yes.
Well, from a user perspective, as a user, there's really, it's a good steel.
Manufacturing, and there's
Manufacturing it's a little rough sometimes.
Yes.
And I have some of the, I like their second smelt. I think it was second or third. So it was before they worked out some of the stress in the steel. So it warps bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
If it didn't crack on you.
I haven't had cracking yet, thankfully. But warpage, I've had knives come out of the plate straight, go into the cryo straight, come out of the cryo straight, get clamped straight inside, in between. I have two pieces of steel that I clamp them between when they go in for temper, come out of temper, out of that jig, bent.
Yeah.
That's MagnaCut.
And you're like, how?
How did you do this?
At what point in this whole process did you end up looking like a banana?
You were straight the whole time. So, yeah. And I did a video just the other day talking about CPM 154, which I was doing this discussion in the stories, which is what this one's in. And I'll be honest with you, if they're both at a high hardness, like 62 or higher, I can't tell the difference in day-to-day use. And you would not believe some of the stuff people said about it.
Yeah.
And that's for me. I have two knives that I carry and use all the time. One's 63 Rockwell MagnaCut, and one is 62 Rockwell CPM 154. And I can tell on a day-to-day use, no difference between them. I strop them as often. I have to sharpen them as often. In fact, the MagnaCut blade's the one that's had a little bit of damage before. So yeah, it's sometimes people need to get off the charts and out in the woods.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like we were saying before, like, you know, you could have a knowledge on a chart, but that doesn't give you real life experience. So people aren't gonna. Well, I would like to say people shouldn't trust your opinions on things because you don't actually have an opinion.
Yep.
You just read a chart and parroted somebody else's opinion. But actually getting out there and using it's what it's all about.
Yeah, unless you have the experience to form an opinion, it's a data point's a data point. You need the actual field testing to prove it.
It may work for certain models, but it may not also work for your models. Like all the time I get people asking me to like do my Wicked and all these different steels. I'm like, you know how long I've tested the 2 steels that I use all the damn time with this thing? It's because I got confidence in it that I'm going to put my name on this thing and sell it. Because the way I do my grinds, I take them super thin. I don't know how all these. Yes, I could just buy a batch of other steel, but I can't tell you it's not going to chip, roll, break. I have no idea what the fuck it's going to do.
You got to take a lot of time to R&D it. Yep.
Exactly. So it's like I don't like to go with a whole bunch of different steels because it is my name and my brand and everything I've put into this going onto this thing. And I don't need, something happening just because that's the type of steel it is and I didn't test it thoroughly enough. And then to know that it had a failure point because it may work for somebody else's grind and knife and everything else. There's so many factors that goes into it instead of just like looking at the chart or looking at the name.
And I try to get people to understand that. That's one of the biggest things I think is a confusion in the matter is they'll try to compare something like knock stuff around. They'll say, well, a large knife and a little knife should both be in the same steel. A knife for bushcraft and a knife for hunting should be in the same steel, or a knife that's good for EDC should be in the same steel. It's very task specific. When you're doing more bushcraft type work where you're mostly wood carving, you're not going to notice a difference in wear resistance. I mean, there might be a very slight, but it's going to be very, very minimal. So AEBL and MagnaCut, you're not going to notice much if you're doing true bushcraft work. Now you get into processing game, you might notice a little bit more. Or EDC, where you're cutting a lot of abrasive material. So people try to take this, well, this one's more wear resistant and on the charts holds more of an edge, and try to put that across the board for all tasks and all knives, and that does not work. There's a reason you don't make machetes out of MagnaCut. It's a task-specific steel.
It'd also be extremely expensive.
Expensive. Yeah. And I think the point is, too, is like, and I think you really hit the nail on the head there, because, just because a steel is great doesn't mean it's great for everything. And that goes across the board for everything that we talk about all the time. But, on a folding knife, like I'll take S35 or S45 or CPM, 20 CV, like all day long. But I don't want that on my bushcraft knife because I want to be able to sharpen it. I hate sharpening super steel. It's like the worst pain known to man. So, I mean, and it's really not terrible, but it just takes longer. And why should it take longer? I just don't want it to. But also, I think a lot of it just comes from like the mass marketing machine and just runaway consumerism. Like everybody just wants to, sell their product. I mean, and I know Heather, you could definitely attest to this. Just because it's old doesn't mean it doesn't work. Because
arguably the older stuff works better.
I mean, how long has wax canvas been around, and how long have outdoors people relied on wax canvas to make really durable, awesome gear? Like 100 plus years. Like,
exactly.
Nylon's cool, but I have nylon that wears out. Nylon wears out.
It melts.
It's got a shelf life. It melts. It freezes. It thins. So
it's not like caveman use. So I don't understand how people go out like camping and hiking and all the super puffy jackets all the time. I'm like, I'd be a fireball. Things. How do you guys do this stuff?
Like, I don't get it. Rip too.
The number of people those like down jackets, whatever those things are, those black ones, and I see little pieces of tape all over the place. Because of sparks from the fire.
Well,
I wear a wool coat. It doesn't do that.
Jason Lee from On3 Survival, he did a video recently where he put super scientific too. He took a Gore-Tex jacket and took a wool anorak, like a hoodie style thing, and put 2 rolls of toilet paper, one in each hood, and then like left on a picnic bench in the pouring rain. And then he took it out. He's like, yeah, the wool one is perfectly dry. And he's like, yeah, the Gore-Tex one's dry too. But he's like, what would you rely more on the field? Like this wool that's been around for millennia is still working. And Gore-Tex is trying to be as good as this wool.
I was going to say, because like sheeps have been around for a long time. We've had sheep for a while. Had sheep for a while. We haven't had plastic for that long.
What company it was. I heard him doing an ad like that. Like we've, all these years of innovation and trying this and trying that, and we came back to natural fibers.
Yeah.
I think it's really just
that
the
was
best.
Patagonia saying
Patagonia.
Yeah.
Are they the ones that did that? I can't remember who it was.
It was Cutweather who made the video talking about.
Yeah.
And Cutweather's a wool company based out of Montana, I believe.
Mm.
And they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys did all this innovating just to end up on what we make. Interesting."
It's been here the whole time.
Very interesting.
Yeah, fire resistant, keeps 80% of its insulating value when it's wet, and yeah.
Well, we're redoing some stuff on my website, and one of the things I've been working with Swedge, and I've been trying to tell them about is like we're going for more of like an American heritage style brand, and it's because like we want to say that it's like, yeah, we're not here just following trends and stuff. We want this shit to last, just like, you know, cast iron or wool or all these other things, like stuff that you could work on, you could fix, it's going to last. It gives you that feeling that like, I actually was going to start saying that I'm an environmentally sustainable company soon, even though I don't have any of the perks that the feds say that you need to have. But I make stuff that's meant to last for 100 years. Where, like, you know, my fan had one wire go and I had to throw the whole goddamn thing out. Yet I'm sure the company is a green company. And you're like, but if I have to throw out your product in 2 years, is it really green anymore?
Yep, it has to keep being produced over and over and over and over and over and filling up landfills. It's not very green.
Versus people that make stuff like us, like where the stuff's meant to last a long time. And even Heather, I find it so cool that you're using this vintage wool. I'm like, here's shit from like 50 years ago that you're still able to make product with. Like, that's so awesome.
My new stash is like 70 plus years of wool. Like, I've got cupboards of it now. I'm having such a great time making stuff with it and collecting it. But not even that, it's better quality. It's woven better. It's thicker, you know. So I'm and I'm just excited.
That was all done by people, not by like machines.
Yeah. So I love being able to use it.
It's all cyclical. Stuff comes and goes, and back to that marketing machine and influencer part you were talking about before. People go, well, this is the latest and greatest, and this is what they all jump on. And they use it for a little bit and realize, it's not really any better than what we had.
Back to the usual.
Yep. It's a cyclical cycle. I've seen it so much in the knife industry. I've been involved in it for 20 years or more now, whatever it's been. I've seen so much come and go. Super steels that everybody wanted. It's the latest and greatest, and everything's inferior. And then we go back to 1095.
I remember when S30 hit the market, everyone was like, S30 is the best steel that will ever be made. And now, like, S30 is like barely budget steel now. Like, oh, it's S30, gross.
Yeah, they call it budget steel now. It costs the same as S35 in the end.
It still
costs the same as S45 in the end.
And then most people, and if you're really trying to market to a broader audience, they don't care. They don't care. Like, I sent a couple knives out to the guys from the OK's Fisher podcast and was on the phone with one of the hosts. And he's like, I was talking about the steel. And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of want something that's like pretty stainless, but easy to sharpen and take care of. I'm like, perfect. A normal person.
Yep.
I love talking to people like this.
I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. The two top questions I could ask, if they don't know about steel a lot, if they don't really know, I want MagnaCut or this or that, they go, does it rust? Is it hard to sharpen? Yeah. All I could ask is just those two. Yeah. It's like, well, yes, it is stainless and it's easy to sharpen for AEDL anyway.
Beautiful. It's what plants crave, as Tom would say.
It is what the plants crave.
But on that note, my friends, it's time. It's getting to be about that time. So before I end it, I just wanted to say Blade Show Texas. When is that? When is that, guys? I should know this. I work for
March
that company.
7th and 8th?
Yeah.
All right.
Where are you going to be, Adam?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, where are you going to be?
What table?
3V.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, look at that.
Did you do that on purpose? I did not.
That's
I promise.
Cool.
That's awesome.
It's like Michael Auxiliary. He's always G10 at Blade Show Atlanta.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
It'd be nice if I could get all the tables to be 3V. That would be consistent. Let's just go to 3V on all of them.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I did get moved for Atlanta. They moved me to 10G, I think it is, the other side of Jordan. So I did get bumped there.
10G.
So same row, just a different table.
All right. And Tom, where are you going to be in Texas?
I'm going to be looking at it right now. 218. I'm going to be right next to our friends at SE, and I'm going to have LT right behind me. So it's going to be it's a fun group. Yeah, it's always a hoot with those guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. First time I've ever been to Texas, or Blade, Texas, that is.
I'm really excited to see all the big stuff. Everybody says it's bigger in Texas. I'm a little intimidated that things may be too big for me, just being from a lowly New Jersey. But I think I'm ready for it.
Mm-hmm. You're going to hang out with Jordan and
New Jersey
John,
sarcasm. What was that?
Oh,
You're going to hang out with
Getting in
Jordan and
trouble.
John, aren't you?
No. We ended up going back on that because the flights, we couldn't get our room back that we already booked. And then the flights were going to be double in price and double in time. And I'm like, okay, but now the amount of time we're spending on the damn plane, it's going to be all the time that we're going to spend hanging out. So I think I want to go down. I think probably because I want to just make a separate trip there.
Yeah.
And that's what I told him. Like, let's just not rush it. And I want to go there when we could do some Texas stuff and like spend a week like shooting deer and
You'd enjoy
hogs
it.
and whatever else Jordan has over there with his fun arsenal that he's got.
Oh, he can keep you entertained. Very much so.
I'm sure I'd have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well,
looking forward to it.
That's all we got. Have fun at Texas, guys. I'm not going to be there this year. Heather, you're not going to Texas, are you?
Nope. That's Todd's birthday weekend anyway.
Okay. All right. So
We'll have to report when we get back.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
Todd's going to have a birthday. Go to table 3V to see Double A Forge, or also known as Knives by Adam, and go to 218 to see Knives by Nuge, also known as Nuge, son of Nuge, and I don't know, just have a great time, take a lot of pictures, and let me know how much fun you guys have.
I'm not going to take any photos.
I know you're not, but that's okay.
Never do.
Anyway, yep.
All righty.
All right, later, all. Have a
Thanks
great
for
one.
coming on, Adam. Bye-bye.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Oh yeah, there'll be like links and stuff below. You should click them. They'll have information on Adam and his knives.
No, we're wrapping it up, Nick. Come on.
I don't want to forget the links. They're important. Goodbye.
Okay, yep.